I'm here with Matthew Piggot of Community CarShare, who's offered to present a webinar today on sustainable transportation for your business. So thank you very much for coming in today, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks, Dana. It's great to be here. All right, so I guess we're ready to get started, eh?
Yes, that'd be good.
Okay, well, I'll jump right into it. So thanks, everyone, for attending and for everyone else who is listening to the recording of this presentation. I am Matthew Piggot, and I'm the Member Services Manager at Community CarShare. We're a nonprofit car sharing cooperative that's been operating in Kitchener since 1998 as Ontario's first car sharing organization. So yeah, we've been around for 17 years, and I believe we've been a Chamber of Commerce member for a majority of those years. So we've been around for a while and been a Chamber member, and it's a great opportunity to do this presentation and get more involved with the Chamber of Commerce, which is something that we'd like to do. So I'll just jump right into it. And I'm sorry. There we go. Okay, so I can jump forward. All right. So there, that's good to go. All right, so what I'll be covering today is some of the issues around transportation at your business, understanding the problems, and how to get to a point where you can see the full cost of what transportation is costing for your business. Some resources for promotion once you're ready to start looking for alternatives, and then just a quick bit at the end about how car sharing fits into the solution, because we've been able to see through the 40-50 corporate members that we have at Community CarShare how car sharing can really be the point of leverage to some more environmentally friendly and cost savings for on transportation. So I'll jump right into it. So the first question to sort of ask yourself is, why consider transportation issues? Why make it part of what you're looking at in terms of your business? And I think a good place to start with that is your employees and how transportation factors into how they feel about their job. This is what we're looking at here is a survey of some global studies of employees and what they sort of value in an employer in terms of what makes them happy to be employed there. And right up there at the top is work-life balance and location, and that really gets into the question of transportation when you consider issues like how long is your daily commute to get to work, how much travel do you need to do for your job. These are sort of things that, it can take you away from your family and community. They can be taxing at times. So that's a really big factor in terms of the quality of work-life balance and happy employees in the end. And that's shown by really sort of put in focus by this picture here. If you look at that person that the arrow is pointing to on that highway in California somewhere, what's their quality of life and what's their work-life balance at this moment? Sort of ask yourself that question. There's also the environmental costs of transportation, and this graphic here shows where the greenhouse gas emissions are coming from in Waterloo region, and we can see that 40% of it is actually coming from transportation, which was interesting when you compare it to the other sources. So that's why I'm interested in this topic and why it's a good one to tackle. There is also the question of costs, and I want to just open this one up here to give us an idea. You might be asking yourself right now, what does it cost in terms of actually providing parking on site as part of a business. Let's just pull that down here. And when you take a look at parking rentals, it sort of depends where you are in the region, but it could be on average, $400 to $1,500 a year. And I think with LRT coming in and the region densifying, those numbers on parking are just going to go up. We're seeing prices of $150 a month in downtown Kitchener for parking, so that puts us over the $1,500 a year in terms of what it would cost. And keep in mind now that for your employees, that if that parking is provided by the employer, then that's actually a taxable benefit. So there's an incentive to move away from that and use that money on different alternatives. If you're in a position where you're actually building parking as part of your facilities, it's really interesting to look at what the average costs are for those and then compare them to the alternatives. Your average surface lot, you're looking at $29,000 per space over its lifetime. Structured, so something like the Charles Benton Garage or something like that you'd see in downtown Kitchener, we're looking at $57,000. And if we get over to something like underground parking, like say at Kitchener City Hall or at the region of Waterloo headquarters, you're looking at over $100,000 per space. And really there's some cheaper alternatives than that. Definitely worth looking into. Next question to ask yourself as a business or an organization is, do you even know how much you spend on transportation? And I've sat around in meetings with quite a few people, and that can actually be a pretty hard question to ask. In the case of a smaller business, mom and pop shop, or under 5 employees, it might just be assumed that each person has their car, and that's the cost of that's something that a professional just needs to have. So it's not even really no one even really tracks how much they spend on transportation. In a larger company or organization, you can run into issues of silos. So where does transportation actually fit in within the organization? So if you take an example of like a larger organization, cost for transportation, building surface parking, that could be in the facilities department, requiring access to a vehicle, or a per kilometer reimbursement. That could be an HR issue. Are transportation budgets at the department level, or is it something that's set out across the company? Sometimes you have to get all the different actors in the room, or actually have to work across departments to even figure out what transportation is costing for you. I want to talk a little bit about the Canada Revenue Agency rate for reimbursement on a personal vehicle that is driven for work. And the CRA rate for 2015 is 55 cents per kilometer on the first 5,000 kilometers. And that's a really interesting situation because if you ask yourself, what's the situation at your business, my experience has been that most employers are actually reimbursing employees below the CRA rate. A typical rate right now might be 45 cents per kilometer. So in effect, what's happening is employees are subsidizing their travel for their employer, which can kind of create some different subsidies than what you'd ideally be looking for. have seen some cases where through a contract negotiation, some employers are actually paying more than the 55 cents per kilometer, but then it's almost an incentive to drive for work. So think about what the situation is in your organization, and that can be sort of a good place to start in terms of your figuring out your costs for transportation. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the resources that exist locally in terms of addressing the issues of transportation at your organization. And there's a lot of tools online, but I want to start with talking a little bit about Travelwise. And Community CarShare is a member of Travelwise, and what it is, it's a local transportation management association. These exist in most major cities around North America and the world. You might be familiar with Smart Commute, which exists in the GTA, but the local version of that is Travelwise. And what it is it's really a network of some of the environmentally focused organizations, but also some of the larger employers who have come together to provide some tools to those organizations in terms of being able to track and report on their transportation activities. There's networking sessions and idea and best case best practices sharing, and it's really, if you're looking to tackle the issue of transportation at your company, where you want to be in Waterloo region in terms of connecting with people who are doing similar work. And there are also some tools that are offered through that, such as a ride sharing or carpooling matching service. They offer discounted bus passes to employers that buy in, and really just a lot of good stuff that you'd want to be able to tackle these issues. So yeah, I encourage anyone who's looking to be part of that network to get involved for sure. As I just mentioned, like one of the tools that they offer as part of Travelwise is the Commute Matching tool, and this I really think there's a lot of potential here in terms of being able to actually set up carpools and also match people with them. And it can be a completely private system, so just for people within your company, or you can also open it up and match people who are part of the network. But it really sort of there might be a lot of informal carpools out there, but this is a more formal service, and I think it has the opportunity to really bring it to more people and to make it a much more utilized version of sustainable commuting. Of course, when it comes to public transit, there are Google Maps, which has a lot of public transportation times and schedules built into it. It's pretty easy to look at on your smartphone, on the desktop, and it can sort of reduce the barriers a little bit of seeing, okay, how long would it take me to get to work? Is this sort of a viable option? And if you're within Travelwise, you can even see, if you type in your home destination in your workplace, you can even see the different options right in front of you. So is there a carpool match? If I walk or cycle, how long will it take me? And even driving by car versus transit. And when you put that information and options in front of people, it can make it a lot easier to see, what their real options are and make a sustainable transportation decision. Grand River Transit also has the EasyGo Planner, which is a pretty good tool, and it can help you see how taking transit could work for you. And really, when you look at it, the opportunities, I guess the tools that are out there for cycling and transit are pretty endless, but I wanted to highlight this one that was brought to my attention recently. It's www.wheremybusat.ca, and what this does is it actually takes advantage of Grand River Transit and the region of Waterloo's new open data policy. And what it does is it's a mobile site that you can bring up on your smartphone, and it will tell you in real time. It'll pick up your location and also tell you in real time how soon your bus is actually coming to you. So it'll give you both the schedule, but also tell you in real time where that bus is. And this can be, fantastic in terms of providing that peace of mind when you're coming up to a bus stop. You don't know whether you missed it or it came early, and you just pull up where my bus at, and it'll actually show you if that bus is coming, which can be great for those sort of spur of the moment decisions you have to make when you're on the bus. And I think overall it really improves the user experience for public transit, which can be one of the barriers to using it. So there's all sorts of people developing these cool little tools for our public transit system out there in Waterloo region. So I thought I'd just highlight one of those. So we've sort of gone through the basics of asking yourself some questions about what it costs, what transportation costs you. Looking at some of the tools for promoting the other ways to get to work. And your organization may have gone through that and have a successful carpooling or public transit program, but you're still finding that there are times when your employees or people in your organization occasionally need access to a vehicle. And that can actually be a real barrier in terms of asking people to walk or cycle to work or carpool or take public transit. Is what do they do once they're there? What if they have an off-site meeting or things like that? And that's the question that CarShare can answer and really sort of leverage the other options that are out there for you. For those of you who haven't heard about car sharing as a concept, I just wanted to go over it fairly quickly. Car sharing is access to a fleet of vehicles on a self-serve, pay-per-use basis. There's obviously been car sharing in Waterloo region for quite a while, but every major urban center around the world has some sort of car sharing built into it. It's just something you can come to expect no matter where you are. How does it work? The first step is to actually become a member of a car sharing organization, and that should allow you to book cars online or by phone 24 hours a day with minimum bookings of half an hour or as long as you need, depending on who the car sharing provider is. There are many ways to access the vehicles, but it's usually done through a smart card system, and that allows you to just simply tap the smart card on the windshield, lets you into the vehicle, and you can get in and drive away, and you should be good to go. In terms of community car share, the cost of your trips are billed on a monthly basis, and they're itemized for each employee. So in terms of accounting and tracking, it's really easy to assign a trip to a certain department or to know which employees made which trips, which can be a real reduce of hassle versus having to have per kilometer trips reimbursed and then separate checks cut out for each one. So that's a real benefit. So how does car sharing fit into the other modes of transportation that we've been talking about here? So what I have here is a graph that shows different types of different modes of transportation and what works best based on two factors: the distance you want to travel And also the flexibility that you need in your trip. So that could be how many people are going with you. It could be how much you need to carry, how much time you have to get there. That's what the flexibility is measuring. So for those short trips, along the Central Transit Corridor in Waterloo region, in Uptown and Downtown, you can actually do quite a bit on a bike, and that can cover a lot of your trips. Taxis are good, if you need to be dropped off somewhere. If you need to go, say, 4 or 5 kilometers, which might, or more, which might be difficult to do on a bike, or if there's bad weather or something, taxis can be great for dropping you off. Public transit is good along areas, where there's more density. If you think, from Conestoga Mall through to Fairview down to Ainsley Terminal and Cambridge, that those central transit corridors can be filled in by public transportation, although it gets a little harder to do that once you get outside of the core where service is less reduced. Up at the top right here we have car rentals, which are great, if you need to drive, if you need to do 1,000 kilometers in a weekend, car rental is really built for that model. If you want to go up north or something, or have a car for 2 to 3 weeks, car rentals are great for that. But right in the middle, we have all of these sort of trips, the 2 to 3 hour trips, the business meeting, going from your office and back, picking up the kids and taking them out to a sporting event or something like that, where car sharing is really that middle ground that can sort of hold that entire sustainable transportation network together. And when you have car sharing, your taxi, your bike, your public transport, and your car rental system tend to work a lot better. So yeah, what car sharing is really doing is it's giving you the opportunity to, first of all, know all the options that exist for you, and then allow you to compare them based on what you actually need for that trip. It allows you to think about, in terms of your emissions, what's the greenest option for you out there. It helps you think a little bit more about price by putting the price up front when you're booking the trip, so that sort of incentivizes, well, if that trip's going to cost me that much, should I really be making that as a business trip, or can I carpool? Am I able to walk or cycle? And there's, there is really a psychological change when you're using CarShare to sort of think a little bit more deeply about what is the cost and impact of each trip. Whereas, if you owned a car, the incentive is, once you've purchased it, to drive it as much as possible, which can lead to a lot of costs down the road. I wanted to touch briefly on the corporate memberships that Community CarShare offers. This may be of interest to some Chamber of Commerce members or to other people who are thinking about how they might want to rationalize their fleet costs, or if this is a benefit they can provide to employees in terms of encouraging less employees to drive to work and then not having to pay the parking rental costs or build more costly parking facilities. We basically have 2 plans. One is our corporate regular plan. It has a base monthly fee depending on how many drivers you have. And we do charge 30 cents per kilometer on that plan, and you also pay for time. It's $5 an hour for the first 4 hours, so that would be $20 for 4 hours, and then $1 an hour afterwards. And these prices are current as of March 2015. If there's anyone who's watching this webinar later, feel free to check in to see where they're at. Yeah, so that's our corporate regular plan. We do also have a distance plan, and this is something new that we rolled out, and it really goes back to that first question I asked earlier in the webinar about can you actually figure out what the costs for transportation are in your organization? And that can be a challenging question, but most people are able to figure out what they charge per kilometer on a trip. And that's why we rolled out the distance plan. We wanted to make the cost comparison easy for anyone who's thinking of using CarShare for their business. So we now have our corporate distance plan, which costs 44 cents a kilometer. There is one requirement there is that we charge a minimum of 15 kilometers per hour booked. That's to avoid the situation where someone simply drives the car and parks it a few kilometers away for several hours. There needs to be incentive for them to bring it back. So that's why we've done that. But yeah, if you think back to that question about what you're charging per kilometer, it's pretty easy to compare Community CarShare's rates to what you're currently charging. I wanted to sort of wrap things up by providing an example of one of the organizations we've worked with found themselves in a situation where they needed to change their transportation habits and how CarShare fit into that. And that was the region of Waterloo back in the winter of 2010. You may remember that there used to be a big parking lot where the region of Waterloo Courthouse is on the corner of Duke and Frederick there, and that winter was the winter the region lost 66 parking spaces, and all of a sudden had to figure out how they were going to change some commuting behavior, and but still make it work so that their employees could, complete their tasks and everything like that. So actually the first thing they did after they lost those parking spaces is they got in touch with Community CarShare and said, okay, how can we set this up as a corporate membership? And in order to make sure that that the cost for CarShare was within their existing transportation budgets, they set up a policy where an employee who had previously received a free parking pass as a region employee could exchange that in and become a member of Community CarShare, and many did actually. We've had dozens of members join since then. That started back in 2010. Later on, paid parking was phased out completely, and we saw another bump in membership. And from that example at the region of Waterloo, we've seen the city of Kitchener, the city of Hamilton, the city of Waterloo, city of St. Catharines, and many more sort of join on board in terms of being CarShare members, realizing that with the increasing cost of parking and the fact that it's a taxable benefit, there was really a strong incentive to get out of providing parking as a cost, especially since in the case of municipalities that they were often through their facilities budget paying for a lot of surface and underground and structure parking, which was getting quite expensive. Yeah. So thanks everyone for tuning in today. It's been great to provide a little bit more information about some of the costs associated with transportation, to point you in a very brief way to some of the resources, and also talk about a little bit about how car sharing fits into that sustainable transportation mix. Please don't hesitate to get in touch with me if you'd like to ask any more questions, or pick up the phone and give us a call as well. Yeah, if there are any more, anyone has any questions out there, I'd be glad to answer them. So, thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thanks, Matthew. So far, I don't think we have any questions, but as Matthew mentioned, please note his contact information is there, or you can respond to the webinar invite, and I'm happy to forward your question along to him. And thanks again, Matthew, for presenting today. That's awesome. And this webinar will be available on our website for those of you that want to pass it on to your friends or colleagues. Have a great day.